You're watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.
It's Wednesdays with Keegs, and we had kind of a meaningful game to watch on Tuesday. Canada versus the Toronto Blue Jays. It did not go very well for one side.
No, the Blue Jays blew them out for a while. And then there was like the late fake comeback when the Blue Jays regulars left the game. And then Riley Terada hit a bomb, like 438 to center field. I don't know what to take from it, Dan. You know, is it encouraging that they came back against the Blue Jays minor leaguers? I don't know. Team Canada's in an interesting spot. You know, when they look at their pool play, and they've got Colombia in there, Cuba, Puerto Rico. Like, it's a pool with some kind of wild cards. You never quite know what you're going to get out of Team Cuba because a lot of their players are playing in Cuba where we're not watching them as much. Puerto Rico, they're missing some of their stars due to insurance issues. You don't know what you're going to get there. Canada has a chance to sneak out of pool play. I think, Dan, it's lined up that if Team Canada comes second in their pool and sneaks out of the pool play, I believe that would line them up against Team USA, which might result in one of the most difficult sporting moments in our country's history. I don't think that would go very well. But, Blue Jays beat Team Canada. Everyone's happy. Russell Martin's there as a coach. Justin Morneau is a coach. One thing I like, Dan, Russell Martin was throwing BP with a glove on. You know, he couldn't turn the baseball player off, so it was pretty cool.
And it also means Ernie Whitt was in the house.
Ernie Whitt, man. For my dollar, one of the more underrated Blue Jays, too. You know, like, he still holds a lot of those counting stat records for catchers. Yeah, Alejandro Kirk, I think, is going to start knocking them down in 4 or 5 years, a lot of them. But Ernie Whitt was, I mean, for fans who were not growing up watching Ernie Whitt through the 80s, like, he played a ton of ball games for this club. He had some real good offensive years, too. You know, he had the great mustache. I mean, and you just look at that man, catcher. You knew he was a catcher. You weren't mistaking him for a shortstop or a second baseman. Ernie's been the head coach of this team for what feels like 40 years, man. And They've got a pretty cool staff. They got Paul Quantrill on there working with some of the pitchers, some good major league like Russell Martin, who had a hell of a career, a lot of playoff success. Being around the team is pretty good, man. And they've got a young position player core that is pretty exciting. You know, it starts with Josh Naylor, then you have his brother Bo Naylor. But looking at Tyler O'Neill, Owen Casey, Denzel Clark from the A's in the outfield, like, there's a group building up here. I don't think it's fully realized yet. Not quite close. But interesting WBC, man. And I would love to see Baseball Canada kind of surprise some people and really spark kind of that national baseball interest right now. It's not exactly hockey when it comes to national sports, but if we could get a bit more interest behind that would be pretty cool, because we see, Dan, like, there are videos of the Dominican Republic's exhibition game yesterday on Tuesday, and it looks crazier than Game 7 of the World Series. Like, Juan Soto and Junior Caminero hit home runs in an exhibition game, and it looked like the place was going to collapse. Like, there were kids trying to tear through the netting to get to Vladdy. Like, the netting was collapsing because there were hundreds of kids on top of each other. We do not understand in Canada or the United States what baseball can look like. We don't, okay? And the WBC gives you a glimpse of that, and I think it's cool as hell.
How was the Team Canada kit, the jerseys? Was there any changes? How are they looking?
Reviews were mixed. Maybe I'll say that. Maybe that's the kind way. I like it at least more, Dan, than the black Maple Leaf hockey jerseys. I was a huge hater.
That made no sense. No sense.
Huge hater. Like, I hate this trend, and I feel like we got there 15, 20 years ago, where everyone's alternate jersey needed to be black and intimidating and serious. No, man. Like, what you can do with just the basic reds and whites for Team Canada can create one of the coolest jerseys in pro sports. You see it with the men's and women's soccer teams playing internationally. Like, they've had some good ones over the years. You see it with different Team Canada hockey, but Team Canada baseball, like, I'm glad that some of the WBC jerseys are developing, I guess, over the years. It kind of started out where it was just like Great Britain, Canada, USA, and they all look the same. Kind of like a create a team if you're playing a video game, but they're getting there. I don't know if it's going to be the hot item on King Street West this summer, but, give it a few years.
Every time a jersey design is out there in front of the people that do it, you should have a basic blueprint and look at the Dodgers home uniforms. Man. They are crisp. They're perfect.
crisp and clean, man. Or those, God, even like I love those 80s, early 90s white home jerseys for the Blue Jays. Crisp and clean, minimal colors that still pop. Now we especially Dan, as we get into all these like City Connect jerseys. What do you call them in the NFL? Color rush. It's. I wish that people could just come out and say "Hey, we want to make a few more bucks, and this looks cool." I have been in. I've been in some of these presentations with other teams, and I hear them in the NFL, in the NBA, whether in what are those called, like the city mode or whatever they are, and it's always like the stitching on the left shoulder represents the pulse of the city. No, it doesn't. God, stop it. Okay, I know that there's a massive marketing department that has to come up with these things, and I respect it. But, the way that the color teal fades into purple on the right shoulder does not represent the fading of day into night when the city really wakes up. It's like, my God, it makes me crazy. But I like the classics, man. I love the classics. Dodgers, Jays have great ones. But just a classic jersey. And, I have come around to the Blue Jays night mode jerseys. I'll admit I have.
Yeah,
but some of them that you see are pretty tough.
Max Scherzer made the rounds on social media as he finally explained his daughter's letter. And originally, he said they were sitting down to write letters to Santa, and she wrote one to the Blue Jays, and he opened it up, and that's what they discovered.
And I liked his comment where he said that his daughter, Brooke, I believe, and his wife, Erica, they kept talking, and his daughter was asking, did you send it yet? Did you send it? And this is only funny when you picture it in Max's voice and face saying it to his young daughter, where he's like, no, that's not a good negotiating tactic. And whereas I think if I were in that situation, I'd be like, yeah, we sent it. Listen, I found all my old letters to Santa a few years back at my mom's house, okay? Crushing moment. My childhood fell apart, but I got over it. I think it might have been easier just to say, totally, we sent it. But, Max probably has her on the phone with his agent. Listen, this gives away leverage. But, man, it worked out. Max was in camp. It was funny to see, Dan. I walked over to the bullpens where I typically, I film them up against the cage throwing. And I was trying to take some video for us to use on MLB Network on the website. And I had to keep restarting the video because Max just kept swearing at his pitches. It was he would throw a strike and he'd be shooting the pistol at the catcher, but then he'd throw a ball and it was just bleep, bleep, bleep. I think, okay, I'll start the video again. I love that experience. He is so intense. Everything is the last pitch he will ever throw and his life depends on it. And he has a special brain where that somehow does not drive him mad. If I'd go crazy, I would drop dead if I was that intense all the time. I need to come down. I think most people need to come down. But Max Scherzer only has one level, man. And that's why, in hindsight, I was wrong to ever even assume he might start the season slowly building up. That was never going to happen. When we asked him if he'd be ready for the season, he said yes, but kind of with an air of of course I will. What are you talking about? I'm Max Scherzer. He's not going to ramp up and spend time in Florida and try to join them in July. That would not happen. He would be tearing down the complex brick by brick with his hands. So he'll be ready. I have no clue what this is going to look like. They are going to have 6 or 7 starters. They're going to toy with the idea of a 6-man rotation to start the season. I don't know if that's likely or even a good idea, but it's a good problem, Dan. And I know it's easy to say that's a good problem, but there's still good and bad ways to handle a good problem. You got to maximize this, and I'm not sure how that works.
Tell me if this describes what Max Scherzer's like. On my YouTube searches last night, I was scrolling around and someone had their camera in showing the Jays spring training facility. Said, this is state of the art. Look at this. And they said, for some reason, there was only one player here, and it was Max Scherzer just sitting on a couch. He was the only one in the facility. Don't know when it was shot. But is that kind of like Max? He is always present, it seems.
That's it, man. He's just a baseball nut. I don't know what he would do if he wasn't pitching. And that's why I don't think he's done even this year. I think he will keep going and keep trying. Justin Verlander wants to do the same thing. I think there's probably a bit of a rivalry there. There's these great right-handers who have been pitching forever, 20 years.
Has Verlander signed anywhere yet?
He is in, is it San Francisco, I believe. But Verlander's still going. And I think their deals they've signed the last 2 years have been like pretty identical deals too. So there's always some parallels there. But Max is just always there. He does not have an off switch whatsoever. A lot of guys show up early and it's just total eyewash. Everyone wants to be there early and stay late. And I used to do that in my job. Now I'm quite aware that I need to write a story each day. If that takes me 20 minutes or 5 hours, whatever. But baseball, especially in a clubhouse where there's 70 guys, you don't want to be seen walking out early to go play golf, right?
You just pulled the Costanza. Just park your car there.
There we go. But Max is early in, early out. Yeah, leave the car, and I should start leaving my bag. I've pulled that move at a few winter meetings and stuff. You kind of go down into the big ballroom and put your laptop down at 8 a.m. and then go take a nap. But, man, he is there
We
constantly.
can all learn a lot from George Costanza, and the other way to look busy is just you always look flustered. You're like, oh, man. So, Keegs is really into this story.
Yeah.
We better leave him alone.
Absolutely. I think I get that working for me on the Blue Jays beat. I'm always just a bit pissed off about something, So it probably looks like I'm doing a lot. Really, I'm just hanging out, but my natural state is a little tense.
How's the bubble situation? Is it any clearer now that all the big names are at the WBC with their respective clubs? These guys are getting some more time in front of the coaches.
A little bit. I still don't know what's going to happen in the infield. And I think this is actually pretty relevant to the team. I know it's going to be the last spot on the roster, but we've seen in recent years how guys on that bubble can end up playing a ton. Like Miles Straw was on the bubble last year, and he played a ton of baseball. Nathan Lucas has been on that bubble. Ernie Clement was once a bubble guy, and they end up playing a ton of ball, okay? There's never going to be a backup who just plays 30 games. And, that's more something you'd see 20, 30 years ago. You have your starters and your backups who only play if everyone else is exhausted. Now, if you're on the roster, you need to be able to do something. I don't care if that's just one thing, but you got to have something, okay? Depth for the sake of depth is boring, and it doesn't do enough when you want to win a World Series. So the Jays want it to be Leo Jimenez. He has been around for a long time. He used to be a top 30 prospect. A couple of years ago, he played, I think, 63 games, and he looked okay. But he's away playing for Panama at the WBC right now. And that can be a good thing. If he tears the WBC up and then has a good run, sure. But if he plays in 3 games and goes 1 for 10 and Panama gets eliminated, then he's missed a few weeks in Blue Jays camp where he could have been making an impression. It's a tough spot. I think if there's anywhere on this roster, Dan, where the Blue Jays could make like a classic spring training veteran addition, it's just an infielder. Utility infielder, some 34-year-old guy who can patch it for a little bit. And then eventually Josh Kasevich, their number 13 prospect, is probably the guy who comes in and if he's healthy and playing well, can make this team midseason. But I don't know who that guy is right now because entering the year right now, Dan, you have Vladdy at first, Ernie Clement second, Andres Jimenez shortstop, Barger and Kaz Okamoto at third. So if Barger can slide in and out of the outfield as the third baseman, that's a start. Davis Schneider can slide in and play second base. And if Jimenez needs a day off, Ernie Clement bumps over to short. But that's not really depth. That's like you're one thing away from being a guy short. That's really stretching it, and you're really stacking up on outfielders. It feels out of balance right now. If you can turn an outfielder magically into an infielder, if Nathan Lucas could wake up tomorrow and play shortstop, problem solved. But there's a lack of balance right now that I still think they've got to figure out unless Jimenez can figure it out.
How about the Shrek?
RJ
Shrek. Robert Shrek.
The people's favorite.
Is he going to see any playing time?
He will. He'll see a ton. He will see a lot of playing time when he is back around. And Shrek is he's a little bit like Nathan Lucas, just younger and probably a bit more upside. And the Blue Jays, Dan, have done a great job of developing these types of players. I think of RJ Shrek, Spencer Horwitz, even though he was an infielder, Alan Roden, Nathan Lucas, Davis Schneider, guys who, if you're going to rank an outfield, I don't even think of it much as left, center, right anymore. I just think of 3 outfielders. They can be kind of a number 3 outfielder, a number 4 outfielder, roughly. Like Joey Loperfido was kind of that as well. But they need to develop a star outfielder. It's been since Vernon Wells, I think. Kevin Pillar, he was certainly a star defensively. You didn't have that offense, that full package. But a real dynamic all-star caliber outfielder we haven't seen in a while. The Jays are stacked up pretty big on infield prospects, especially in their top 5, their top 10, but not really that outfielder. So RJ Schreck, I like him a lot as a player. Can he turn into something more than Nathan Lucas, Davis Schneider, that realm? Can he blow past that? The offensive profile is exciting. It's there. He's going to start in AAA, but he's got to blow past those guys. He would need to blow past Jesus Sanchez, who maybe he's the guy who clicks, and this is looking a lot cooler. But the Jays have this log jam, and that's still a good thing. I don't want to present it as a negative. They have a log jam of outfield depth. And if there's any way that you can turn a little bit of that into a little bit more infield depth, that still feels really attractive to me on this team, because it's just they got a billion outfielders and just enough infielders right now. So I think that's got to be something that's on this organization's mind to balance that out.
And finally, an inside baseball question. We had Dan Schulman on
Nice.
a couple weeks ago when Buck Martinez announced his retirement. I asked him who his new partner would be. He was very coy. I don't know if he actually doesn't know. Do you have any insider knowledge? Is it going to be a mixture of people? Is it going to be one set person? What have you heard? Who is going to be in the booth with Dan
I've been
Schulman?
curious. And since it hasn't been announced, Stanley, normally I believe Sportsnet announces all of their talent and stuff right before games start, which has not been the case. So that leads me to believe, and what I would assume is that it'll be more of a rotating cast. Maybe you have a lot more Joe Siddle, Caleb Joseph, Madison Shipman. Like, that would be awesome. I would love to see that. I like all of those people very much. And
it's easier because, as I said to Dan, you got the buffer Pope. That Pope's going to take a lot of heat, the one after Pope John Paul.
There you
So
go.
if it's a mixture of people, then they all don't have to take the brunt.
Yeah, who followed Tom Brady? Was it Cam Newton? Yee. But it'll be great. Like, we really I still believe it. Losing Buck is hard. It sucks. I texted Buck the other day, Dan, and did you see that Buck Martinez card that I tweeted out?
I did.
I was in a shop and I loved it. It was his 1971 card. And I texted a picture of it to Buck. I just said, looks like a power hitter. And he immediately texts back, that was in 1969 at Yankee Stadium. I had the photo taken on this day. I was like, dude, I don't know what day it is. I love Buck, but I still think that even with Buck gone, like, we're in a real golden era of Jays broadcasts, man. Like, I think Blue Jays fans are very lucky. And if you do not believe me, then watch a few road broadcasts through the years, and you'll see how good fans across Canada have it. But yeah, I think you'll my assumption. I don't know anything about it, but if my assumption is right, I think folks are still in very good hands. We've seen Madison and Joe and a few folks down here through spring training, so it's been good, man. But that's a lot of games to fill. I couldn't do that job, man. I can yap, but that's a lot of yapping. 3 full hours following it. I admire it, man.
I'll leave you with this. I'm surrounded by hockey cards and pro athletes. They're very aware of their cards and when it was taken. We spent some time with Rick Walmsley, the former NHL goalie, and he showed us a card. Remember when the backups used to wear the towel?
Oh, yeah.
So he was skating in warm-up with the towel, no helmet on. He goes, yeah, you can see that season went well for me. As he shows us the card. I'm like,
love it, man.
Never thought of it that way. He knew they didn't get a picture of me or didn't want to wait out until I actually got a start.
I love it.
Thanks, buddy.
You got her, Dan.
Thanks for watching Toronto Sports Rush on the Bet Rivers Network.